So, how was your experience different than where you grew up in terms of your disability?
I actually, went home overseas, even though it sounds like it was very depressing or discouraging, I felt more at peace with my disability and at home with it than I am in America because I believe America is the way they view if you're not white, normal, rich, like if you're not any of those things, then you're automatically viewed as different. And America still does not know how to embrace that fully, I think, in a way. Um, like, it almost feels like, I don't know like, the being embraced for your difference or being embraced because you are unique, you are made differently from, like, I don't think, because a lot of times here in America, what I find is that people don't know what it's like to have a hearing disability. They are fed like misconceptions or stereotypes that are not true, but that's what culture has said that we are, or whatever. A lot of times, I find myself having to, I don't want to educate them, but like essentially that's what it is. Like if they, like a lot of times, I've had experiences where people treat me like I'm deaf and dumb. Because, like, I don't know where that stereotype comes from, but I like they think that just because I can't hear them, I can't see how they're interacting towards me, or that they're making fun of me behind my back, or whatever. Like, it's really kind of hard to explain that, and so I think it's a lot of just the perceptions here in America is different than when you go overseas. And I'm not saying that like South Africa, Uganda, all those places are perfect countries to live in. They have issues galore to work on as well. But it was just, and I don't know if too, if it was just because I was able to embrace my identity of having being here and disabled and being able to use it to connect with somebody. I think I'm not showing that. And so, yeah, I think it, and again, I think it's just really people just don't understand here in
Mhm.
America. I mean, I really don't want to make it sound like I'm bashing people or whatever, like making fun. Like, it's just a lot of times people just don't know, and
Yeah.
so
Did you learn anything about your disability while you were abroad?
I think it was just I was grateful for my upbringing and just what all my parents and my family did for me, and just I remember on my Uganda trip, the trip leader, she's become like a second mama to me or a mentor to me. And she always asks us like reflection questions, the thoughts of the day or whatever. And one of her statements was basically along the lines of, you could have easily been born in a different time period, in a different country, in a different whatever. And but the fact is, it was, or yeah, was for us is that I was born in America in 1986. I have a hearing disability. So if that is made me who I am, then what am I going to use with it for others? Or how am I going to, like, what is my calling or purpose with that? And so just being able to go overseas helped me see things in a different way. Um, I feel like a lot of times I get frustrated when I come back to America from overseas because I'm always having to explain how things are there. Like in Uganda, for example, one of the girls that I worked with, she was actually an orphan. Her family stole her uncle, I think it was, sold her for a bride price, which is something you don't think still happens in the world, but it still does. So she was like 13, 14 years old, and her uncle sold her for a bride price to some wealthy guy to help pay for meals for his table, basically. And she tried to escape. She tried to get away, and he caught up with her and raped her, and she became pregnant as a result. So if I only focus on that aspect of the story when I tell it in America, then people don't believe it's true. Like they can't imagine that A, bride price still happens in third world countries all around the world, or B, that um, just how terrible it was, that like how her, like how that all that must not be true. Like I feel a lot of times people just don't realize that this is still happening. And so, but if I continue on with that story, she showed up on the doorstep of the program I volunteered with, and she had the baby. And so she received counseling and help, and she was able to go to school. The baby was adopted by a family here in America. And so there is actually good that came out of it. And it took a while to see that. I mean, she had a lot to work through and everything that happened. But um, that's the other thing I try to tell people is that you can't listen just to one side of the story or one aspect to that story. There's more to it. And so I just think going overseas, it gives me an, a new perspective on how to view the world around us, and just knowing that it's our responsibility to relate with others and to share their stories too as well. And so, and it just makes me grateful for what I do have here in America and what I have access to, um, or even just having a family that was supportive of me, because I know even that can be different for people as well.
Mm-hmm.